identity crisis. What is it and where does it come from?
Identity crisis. And it's something that when I think about it, I I normally think about the fact that it's the lack of, for me, this is how I view it. It's that lack of understanding about yourself and trying to find other people. The why question: why am I here? What do I love? What makes me happy? Who am I as an individual? That's what causes that crisis. If you do not answer such questions, then I feel like most people normally go out seeking for that identity in other people because they can't answer that question. Why? We call it the 5H, and no, the 5W and 1H. So most of the time, especially as women, if we don't establish that, well, we don't understand and try to answer those questions for ourselves, then we find external answers, because everyone will tell you this is who you are, this is what you can do, this is blah blah blah, this is that. And by the end of the day, if you listen to all those people, then you have that question within yourself: so who am I as an individual? So that's how I view identity crisis.
Hmm. I agree with it totally. Where I would like to start is by saying that, honestly, I think that when we hear the phrase identity crisis, a lot of people would not even want to admit that they have had it or they are having it or going through it,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of us shy away from being seen as having any kind of weakness, right? And I think that people will see it as a weakness. And in fact, I can imagine that if someone were to walk in and say they're talking about someone and they say he has an identity crisis or she has an identity crisis, some people might actually laugh, right? But I would like for us to acknowledge that we're only human and that we're not perfect.
Mm.
So seeing having an identity crisis or feeling like one has an identity crisis should not make one feel inferior. We can just identify it as this is a phase of life, or this is something that I am going through that I am not strong in right now. And the truth of the matter is that if I sit back and I think about everybody that I know in life, person A, person B, person C, D, all of them, I am almost certain that I would find that if I started to think about this person and every aspect of them, there will be something or some things that I will say, okay, they're not perfecting this. Okay, person B is not perfecting this particular thing. Person C is. Therefore, what that means is that if other people were to take me and you and other people and think about us, there will always be things that are not perfect about us.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them could be an identity crisis. So it's just one of those things because we're simply human beings. We're human
Yeah.
beings. So the moment that we can accept something, then that is when we can even begin to say we can now figure out how to work around it or work on it to improve. So if one feels like they have an identity crisis right now, let us just accept and acknowledge it so that we can begin to work on it, because it's a crisis. You have the word crisis inside, which means
Exactly.
that something needs to be dealt with, something needs to be calmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would want to say about identity crisis. Because you already defined what it was, so I don't need to. I don't need to. You already defined what it is, so I don't think I need to go there because I agree with what you said, right? So now maybe what
Yeah.
what are the things that what is the fundamental thing actually that causes a person to have an identity crisis? the one fundamental thing. I think you said it's not knowing who they are.
Yeah, so I'll just give maybe a personal example. I remember the fact that, when you're looking up to someone, and should I say if they don't meet your expectations or what, how will I frame it? When you're looking up to someone and they don't deliver, or they don't seem to be there, show up, just in short, be there for you.
As a role model,
Yes, yes. And sometimes it used to make me feel like, why am I, I'm looking up to this person to feed my emotions, to affirm me, to tell me, oh, you're doing good, you're doing this, you're doing better, because that is what I did not get when I was young. So most of the time, if we don't try to deal with previous traumas and try to understand the root cause of your identity crisis, then you'll keep on becoming like a grasshopper. You skip here today, skip there today, be here, be there, and be everywhere, trying to find your why. So I think one of the things that people need to understand, and when you're trying to understand where that crisis comes from, you need to sit down with yourself. I like using this example. Have a hot conversation with yourself, which is honest, open, and transparent. Get out of your world sometimes. And if you need to seek help or someone who can help you uncover all this, then it's good. But for me, I had to like sit down with myself and try to understand, where is this constant trying to seek for validation coming from. I'm trying to make sure that everybody is happy at my own expense. Where did it come from? If we don't get out of our world and see through the lens of an outsider, then sometimes you don't tell yourself the truth. So it's important to step out of your world and be hot with yourself, honest, open, and transparent. Where did all this identity crisis start from? Is it from childhood? Is it maybe, did it appear in my adulthood? Maybe my childhood was okay, but in my adulthood, maybe the relationships that I've been having back to back, people were either manipulative, they were, insulting me, they had put a lot of traumas. And since then, maybe I haven't recovered from it. It can be from your childhood or maybe adult life. Maybe it was that toxic boss that you started working with, and they started insulting you one way or another. So that constant insult made you feel so inferior and start questioning your why as a human being. And since I presume here we are talking about women, since we are both women here. So those are the things that I would say. Sit down, just have a look at yourself with an outsider lens and ask yourself, where did this come from? Because if you don't start asking yourself that question, then I'm sorry, you'll just be skipping, hopping, jumping, and just being everywhere. So that question is very important.
it is absolutely yes. And one other thing that I love, the fact that you didn't
Mhm.
hang it on just childhood. I saw when you added the other part when you said maybe something that happened in my adult life through
Yeah,
experiences. Yes,
exactly.
because I think a lot of us might make that error of thinking that everything is from childhood. Or
Exactly.
yeah,
When we hear identity crisis or anything to do with trauma, everybody's like, this came from your childhood. But that's,
yes,
grew up with a very healthy childhood. But
yes,
in their adulthood, maybe their first relationship that ruined everything. started
Yeah,
questioning, identity.
yeah,
So, yeah.
that is true. So questioning ourselves. Now, in order to do that, we have to also be people who are honest with ourselves.
Mm,
And in order to be honest with ourselves, we have to also be open to, again, accepting that not everything is perfect with me, right? That
yeah.
way, I can actually do an honest evaluation of my
Mm,
experiences so that, because even sometimes when I have had an experience where I feel that somebody has treated me in a negative, I have come to a place where I actually am able to see my own role in leading up to that. For
mm,
instance, yeah, I can see the reason why that is important is, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to say this about myself here, because when you're talking to someone and you tell that person who has had a negative experience from another person, and you tell them, okay, you need to also recognize your own role in this, right?
yeah.
People usually think of it as victim blame, right?
True.
But I would say that it depends on the intent of the person who is saying that to you. Because,
Mm,
yes, sometimes it could be that, you know, it could be a way of trying to blame you, but it's not always that. Sometimes it's just a way of refocusing us to understand. For instance, if I start a relationship with you, um, say every time that you and I plan something, if we have planned, like if we have made 10 plans, right? And out of those 10 plans, all those 10 times or 6 times, which is more than half of the time, you didn't meet up to the plan, the agreements. And then the 20th plan later, I start to complain. She's very this, she mistreats me, she is this, she is this, she's this. I need to recognize that I actually had a role in it. And when you say to someone, this person who is treating you this way, you had a role to play in this, you're going to say, no, I was always on time. I was
yeah.
always there. I always brought the materials, right? I always brought everything that we planned on. But she was always. Then you have to ask yourself, after it happened more than half the times, right? It happened first time, second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. Why did you continue to give that person another chance, another chance?
And
Honestly,
yeah, actually, that's so true. Like, you have brought a point that I'm now thinking, what are some of the things? And now, even that is attached to something else, because the question now here will be, why did you keep on entertaining it? There are some people who, maybe we can give an example or your point of view about this. There's some people who know that it is wrong, that you see, maybe they're in a very manipulative relationship or abusive relationship. Let's take maybe in marriage, a woman will stay. They know it's wrong, they know it's unhealthy. I don't know if you've watched this movie of Finding Me in Pre. Oh my goodness, you need to watch it. I
all right.
remember man kept on telling her, you're fat, you're not like other people. But she continued to stay. She knew that the husband is insulting her, looking down upon her, but she continued to stay. So, my question will be, why do people are aware that thing is bad, but why do they stay? That is the question. Is it that they don't have that strength of getting out of that kind of relationship, or what happens?
Are you trying to take us into another conversation? Because that's another conversation. Why do people stay when they know that they are in the wrong place? That's another question, isn't it?
But I feel like it's tied to
It's fine.
identity.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So the reason is, so let us note that for another day. we can deal with that more deeply on another day. But today we can just touch it a bit, right?
Yeah.
So, so right, you're right. It is still tied to the identity we have of ourselves, which is why it is important to acknowledge when we have an identity crisis. It's really important because the moment that we acknowledge that, then we will know this thing is causing me to have negative experiences. Therefore, I need to solve it. I need to resolve this thing because ignoring it and going on and continuously having the negative experience is painful. It
Mm.
reduces my quality of life. So I
Yeah.
had better not run away from what is going on with me. Something is going on with me that is causing me to open up myself to negativity. So I need to deal with it, right? And I'm smiling now because somebody might look at the person who is saying this, right? And they cannot imagine that, oh yes, look at her, you know, she's just saying all that. They cannot imagine that perhaps I'm saying it because I may have come out of it myself. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And there is nothing like experience to teach us. There is nothing
Mm.
like experience to teach us. So when you're looking at somebody who is telling you something and they look so comfortable when they are saying that thing that they're telling you, perhaps they're telling you they're looking comfortable now because they are no longer there and they know that this is the way to get out of it, which is why they're sharing the information. So now they're looking comfortable. So you begin to feel like they don't even know what this thing feels like. So how can this person be a person who will tell me? Do you understand? What I think
Yeah.
you and I know that after you have had a taste of something, you are in a very good position to tell somebody it doesn't have to be that way. It's
Yeah.
only that you haven't seen the light at the end of the tunnel. It's only that you haven't understood that you actually have something that you can do to shift this thing happening to you. And it entails a shift in mindset. It
Mm.
entails a shift in mindset. And people will ask, what do you mean mindset? My mindset is that I don't want this thing. How can you be telling me that it is my mindset that is creating? But it is
True.
mindset that is creating it because it is mindset. Our mindset is a determinant of, is what we think about anything, isn't it? Your
Yeah.
mindset is what you think about anything. Now, if I'm a person who thinks to myself, I cannot take this type of behavior or treatment, right? Now we have to go back to the words of wisdom that were given to us to guide ourselves. I said to you the other time that you cannot buy a fridge and know how to use that fridge if you don't
Mm.
have the manual and if you don't use the manual to set it up or your television.
Mm.
Same thing with us as human beings. Before we were born, you and I, a lot of words of wisdom from experiences, from, say word of knowledge, from things that have been observed and seen the way things play out in human life. A lot of words of wisdom were already kept for us. We have a manual actually, and that manual, I haven't read other uh, religious/spiritual texts, but the one that I know because I was brought up reading the Bible. I was brought up as the Bible is. And when I say this, I'm not even talking about Christians. Because guess what I've heard? I've heard from other people who have read other books. A lot of those things that we see in the Bible are also present in the Quran, in
Mm.
Buddhism, in a lot of other things. I am not saying that they're all equal. I am just saying that apparently these are words of wisdom that have brought through the ages. And one of the
Mm.
things that you will find is that as a man thinketh in his heart, this is the way it is written in the book that I read. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I find it is very real, very real. And so some of us will think, why am I having this experience if this is, and you're saying, as a man thinketh in his heart. But if you really go back and think deeply and you're honest with yourself, you come to see that things that are happening, take an experience, except when you are a child, when you are helpless and you can't change things,
Mm.
right? I mean, because you are dependent, you are stuck sometimes in a place where, except when you're a child. If as an adult something is happening or things are happening, it's a matter of my mind allows my thoughts allow me to believe that this can be happening. The moment that I don't believe it can be happening to me and I cannot accept it, I won't be there. I
Yeah.
won't be there.
So, and it just also brings me to something else. When we are talking about the identity crisis, the fact that we should be very comfortable being ourselves in this manner, that you don't need, you have, I look at it in this dimension. You have dated yourself enough to know who you are as an individual, because dating yourself, meaning, what do people normally go out when they start that whole dating phase, is just getting to know each other, getting to know that person's weakness, strengths, and all that. So I normally encourage women that you need to date yourself in order for you to understand who you are. So
Hmm.
understood who you are, then we'll know there are some things that come rain, come sunshine, I will not take it. When someone tells me this and it's not my values, I will comfortably be able to walk away. That just brings me to my point. You remember what we were talking about the last time? The guy who were trying to like talk and all that. I was just like, it reached to a point that we weren't in agreement in some couple of few things. And when I was thinking about it, I'm like, this person is nice, this person does this. Can I compromise just, you know, for them, because they're doing above and beyond? And I remembered, I was just like, this is what you didn't get, and you're about to slip back to it. I was like, you know what? No, where I've come from is very far, and I'm not willing to go back. I just told him, you know what? This cannot work. I think we are good as friends, and that's just it. And I was like, girl, I'm so proud of you. Like, on a normal day, you'll be like, oh, start explaining a lot of things. But it just made me feel like, damn, you have grown. Like, there's some things that you're accepting back then just because you didn't receive that, and you're seeing everybody as like a father figure. And I got to understand that not everybody that comes in your life will fill that gap. You need to start healing and becoming a brand new you as an
Hmm.
individual. I comfortably walked away smoothly,
Hmm.
and I didn't feel bad about it. I was like, it didn't work because our values weren't aligning, and that is fine. So if I was in that place of asking myself, who am I? What do I even stand for? I'll be constantly saying yes to everything, everyone, and things that are not meant to be in my season and in my life currently. I feel like that was the proudest thing that I've done this week, by the way. I feel so proud.
I am so happy because you know why I am so happy? Because what you've done is, guess what? And the thing that happens is, a lot of us, we can get to a place where we are scared to speak up for ourselves because we feel like if I speak up for myself, then I am going to lose this thing. But do you
Yeah.
know that there are times when you speak up for yourself? If you say to me now, so I don't, I have made a proposition to you, and you say, also, no, this doesn't work with me, right?
Mm.
And maybe there's something that I have that you want, and your fear is, if I say no, I won't get that thing. Quite all right. You know that if you don't say no, you are going to get what you don't want. And you know that that thing that you don't want is painful to you. So, what is the essence of accepting me and my proposal because you want something from me? You are hoping to get something from me, and then you are still now getting something that you don't want. It's really counterintuitive. So, the
Mm.
right thing to do is to actually speak up, but it takes boldness and it takes coming to that place of the boldness is that I know that I might lose, I stand the chance of losing this or that thing that I want.
Mm.
But the the resolution of that identity crisis is what enables us to say, I know myself and I know that this doesn't work for me. So
Yeah.
then, and guess what? Even when we say no, when you say no to me and I withdraw, I can go home and go and think about it. And I'll be like, but what she's asking for isn't so bad.
Mm.
Maybe I will give it to her. Then
Exactly.
secondly, and here is where not saying no is a big problem. You saying no to me, and I know that there is something that there's an outcome that you want from me, and yet you said no to me. It makes me have trust in you. It makes me have trust in you as this is someone that I can trust because she's not she's not unsure. So if I'm making a plan with her and she
Mm.
tells me, hey,
Mm-hmm.
she's reliable. She's reliable. When I see that you're reliable,
I
when I see
didn't
that
see
you're
that.
huh?
I'm saying I didn't see that in that sense.
Yeah. But that's what it is. That's what it is. And that's why at the end of the day, when someone tells you you have a role in what is happening to you, you don't understand because you haven't seen these other layers that we're talking about now. So you have, and eventually that person does not respect the person because they haven't given the impression of being somebody that can be trusted, somebody who is reliable, somebody who even cares about themselves. If I see that you don't care about yourself, for goodness sake, I'm not going to be careful the way I treat you.
Yeah.
Because let's say again, you have two friends, myself and Theresa, right? And every
Mm-hmm.
time that you make plans with me, you are messing up. Every time that you make plans with Theresa, you are messing up. And Theresa says, all right, you know what? I don't want to make any more plans.
Mm.
But I continue to give you another chance and another chance and another chance because I care. I'm so invested in us continuing our relationship. At the end of the day, the next time that you want to ask for those plans again, when you ask for those plans and I say, make sure that you stick to the plan, and Teresa says, no plan, we're not doing anything. If she even says, then when you go home, you call her again and say, Teresa, please reconsider. And then she says, okay, I will just try again.
Last chance.
That day, if anything comes up on that day and it's between the two of us, you are going to do it for Teresa. You're not going to do it for me. You're not going to
Mm.
do it for me, who has been very nice and accommodating. You know, because you
Yeah.
will know in your mind subconsciously that I can always come back and deal with Uzo later. But Teresa, I've got to give it to her the way it was planned. Because Teresa is not going to accept this from me. I lose my chance with Teresa. That's why it's important that we stand up for ourselves. Because when we're being that niceness, what we're just doing is that we continue to shrink ourselves and we become inconsequential. We
Mm.
continue. Have you ever heard it said that nice girls finish last or nice guys finish last?
Yeah.
That's actually what it is. It's not because we are nice. It is because we have presented a person that cannot even be taken seriously. So if I cannot take myself seriously, why should you take me seriously?
Yeah. And it's so true that seriousness starts from you. Entertainment starts from you because people see it in you
Mhm,
and they so if someone treats you bad, ask yourself, am I treating myself bad? Am
mhm,
I treating myself bad? I'm not standing up for myself. I am not saying no required. I'm not giving myself grace. Everything boils down to us. You see the way people normally say, this guy has been treating me bad. This guy doesn't, value me. But when it comes to another lady, oh my God, they are
exactly. And they will say
Or
the bitchy ones, the nasty ones. It's not being bitchy or nasty. It's people who know how to stand up for themselves. And you don't
I'm
have to
like,
do it in a nasty way too.
the moment I started questioning myself. I'm like, how comes I'm being nice to this person and they're not treating me in a nice way, but they're treating someone else in a very good way? And I started observing. I'm like, this person stands up for themselves. They know who they truly are. So when you try to pin them down, they'll come at you. Hey, they'll be like, no, you didn't treat me fair. And that is why I'm letting you go, because this is my non negotiable. You can't treat me like this, and I will stay. I will just.
Exactly.
So I'm like, it all boils down. The way people treat us, it all boils down to us. What has been entertaining? That's the question. What have you
What
been
you entertain, you accept, eh?
Yes. And this thing people look by the if you're even afraid, the room can read it. The people in the room can read it. And they'll be like, this person, I know they won't deliver because of how you appeared. So I'm like, we need to focus on healing ourselves first and dealing with whatever is on the inside before we appear to the outside world. Even if it is just taking a back seat and every day deciding to improve, that's still fine. Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to us. The way people treat us, you see, like the way this, I don't know, there's just like an example that one speaker gave, like pointing this way. People are looking at you, but they are still pointing at you to see. What did he say? People are looking up to you, but they are looking through you to see how they will treat you. So that's
Okay.
yes,
Right. Okay. I like to say when you're pointing fingers, this is how you point. All these other fingers are pointing at you.
exact that similar example. So
Yeah.
like
Oh
I feel like
wow.
I'm like you did the best thing today, like this
Yeah.
week. And
Yes.
like you've grown.
You've grown. You've grown. And it's exactly the same thing that I went through, this kind of scenario that you explained when you decided, um, and it happens in so many different things, even at work, even in family. For instance, one of the things that can create an identity crisis again is, I talk a lot about family dynamics, family relationships. Hmm?
Laws.
Because because we don't even have a choice with family, because you're born into the family that we're born into, and you don't have a choice. But just because it's family doesn't still it's still human beings that are in family. The
Yeah.
people I say, the one of the examples that I give is when you go to the psychiatric home, those people, they came from other people's families, or even
Mm.
our family. They are still family members of some families. So the fact that this is my family does not automatically award everybody with a certificate of being reasonable, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And in fact, when I came to this understanding, I was looking at it as, well, this person is not normal, they are insane, so, well, I can't, this is who they are. But gradually I've come to a place where, oh, well, this person is not normal in their reasoning, and they can't help themselves. So instead of even being upset at them, it is now
Mm.
an understanding that, I mean, think about it. There's nobody who could really help themselves that would deliberately create animosity or issues with their blood relative. Think about it. So
Mm.
this is a way that we can have the grace to be accommodating of people who may have some mental issues, or who do not reason properly, or because something may have caused it for them as well. You know,
Mm.
something may have caused that problem for them as well. which was beyond their control. So, like if somebody even mistreats me, if I notice that the person is not processing things properly, it's not always that I should be angry at the person. I can be angry about what the person did, but
Mm.
understand that this is what the person knows. That's what they know. If they knew better, they would not treat me that way that I didn't deserve, right? So that's
Yeah.
what they know. And that's why at the end of the day, the responsibility now comes back to me. To if I'm accepting it, it's still me because this person doesn't know better, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. So two things that I like to say sometimes is do not be accepting mistreatment from people because sometimes they don't even know that what they're doing is wrong. Sometimes they don't know. And you are thinking that they know. So the more I accommodate them and the more I shift, one day they're going to recognize and change. They may not know because that's all they know. Then, secondly, we hear it said that don't love yourself. You have to love yourself first before someone else can love. A lot of times, if you're facing abuse from, let's say, a partner, usually
Mm.
your self love is questionable.
Yeah.
Your self love is questionable because they're going to treat you the way that if you come to me and you see that I always treat myself, special, like I treat myself like I matter, right? Or you see, if you come to my living room, you come to my living room and my living room, I have everything scattered everywhere. If you go to visit a friend and everywhere is upside down, you will just get in there and you eat your sweets, you throw your wrappers, you eat the food, you push the plates, you walk around the house with your shoes. But if you get there and everything is pristine and everything is clean and everything is taken care of, you have no choice but to fall in line. You wouldn't
Mm.
put your legs on my table with your shoes. You're going to treat the space the way that you met the owner treating it.
Mm.
It is. So it took me having this same experience with you, because um, it was a family member, right, who was disrespectful and people just feel like they need to shift and accept it and accommodate and accommodate. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense because what you're saying is if you continue to shift and accept it and accommodate, they continue to do that thing to you. They may not even know that they're doing something, right? And they may feel it's normal, it's their position, it's their whatever. So I'm like, no, no, no. If you guys want to accept this, that's okay. Accept it. Don't invite me to that nasty party. I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm not going because I have my own self worth and self value. And everybody deserves respect. If somebody doesn't know how to behave, they need to go and learn it. I am not the one to lower my standards.
Mm.
They need to rise up to the proper standards.
Mm.
Yeah.
I've actually loved this whole conversation.
I think you already said it. You already said it. To okay, but before we do that quickly, we'll just say what are some of the things that cause the identity crisis? What are some of the things in your mind? Um, Apart from the things you mentioned, because you already mentioned so many things. You mentioned so many things. You mentioned childhood, upbringing, you mentioned healing. It's heal the person who isn't healed. You said explore yourself. You said date yourself. That is so great. That's a phrase that all of us need to go home. So you said so many things. So what are other things that you can add to it?
Pardon, just repeat the question, sorry.
Yeah, what are other things that you can add to the things that create the identity crisis? Because you talked about experiences, past experiences, childhood, upbringing, you're not healed, you don't know yourself, you don't accept yourself, you don't stand up for yourself.
Okay, so if I get the question right, what are other causes of identity crisis?
Yeah, a few others that we could mention.
What comes top of my mind, I would say, is environment too, because sometimes this quote, someone said this quote, I even don't remember who, but our environment shapes who we are.
Hmm.
So, people around you, have they also been lowering their guard, compromising on things, and one way or another you saw it as a norm?
Mm.
You see, for instance, let's take it in marriage when you have been maybe in an abusive relationship, and let's take it as men, and men saw their mothers being beaten oftenly, and one way or another they get married, continue with that pattern because
Mm.
so it as I am the head and you're
Oh
supposed
my
to submit,
gosh.
and if you do not submit to me, these are the repercussions, and you don't need to question me, you don't need to do anything, you just need to follow my guides.
Oh my gosh.
And so, since they saw that and they saw their mothers submitting or people around them submitting, so they're like, this is how I should rule my house.
This is
This
how to
is,
get submission.
yes, this is what I saw. And so, unconsciously, they replicate that because they got their identity from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, this is normal to me. I don't feel bad.
Exactly.
Calls them out, not their wives, but an external person, because they're like, who are you to tell me that whatever I'm doing is wrong?
Exactly.
Offended because that's what they have seen day in, day out. I can give
Mm-hmm.
whereby in the context of marriage, the fact that you have always seen your mom being quiet about things. She doesn't talk, she doesn't speak her mind off. So you go when you're married and you're in that phase, and when things get heated up, you don't know how to express yourself because there's an identity that you borrowed, that you saw, and you're like, if I speak up, this person will see me in another new lens. They will see that I'm maybe appearing rude, so
I'm not a good wife.
let me keep quiet and let me be that quote unquote submissive woman. So I will say it's also environment. Environment shapes who we are at the end of the day, because what we see unconsciously is there's a picture that is normally painted in our minds. And so sometimes we do things that we don't think that we don't think consciously, we think sub unconsciously about them. And another example that just comes in mind is the fact that when it comes to money, finances, and all that, and in marriage, like you people, so that I saw another clip online, I think it was today or yesterday, whereby the man was saying the wife, she saw the dad always doing everything and supporting everything. And so for him, what the ideal thing about marriage and finances is we are putting everything 100. We are doing 100. You bring your money, I bring my money. Let's put it on the table and let's now start budgeting it. Give you allowance, I give myself allowance, then this we can direct it to that, this we can direct it to that. But for her, she didn't grow up like that. She was like, the mother used to keep the money, the father is doing everything. So she had that money mindset issue, that this that you're being controlling, because that's an identity that she picked. So that guy was saying for 5 years they had this issue, and it reached to a point that that man was like, you know what, do whatever you feel like doing. This is how much I can be able to support, and if you cannot come in, then sort yourself out. You see that strife coming in, and you can imagine the first 5 years, it's normally like the honeymoon phase. People are trying to discover each other. It really bruised their marriage that now he went outside and looked for someone who can resonate with. It was that bad. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
but to another person. So we really need to
Environment.
our environment has
Yeah.
shaped who as
Yeah.
it. So then the other thing would be I look at it in this lens. Another cause of identity crisis is I would say entertaining people. I don't know how we can put that, but it's just in my heart. I don't know where that has come from. Entertaining people,
What do you mean?
not being able to stand for yourself.
Okay. Expectations. Meeting other people's expectations, you mean?
You know, the thought. I don't know where that has come from, but I feel like that is maybe someone needs to hear this. You're entertaining people too much.
Yes.
That entertaining yourself, you're
And-
entertaining others.
yeah.
That you feel like pleasing other people is a good way of boosting your identity.
Mhm.
Some things like that do happen. You feel like, let me cater for other people's feelings, moods, so that I can feel better about myself. So maybe you can pick it up from there and expound. You're very good at expounding.
I agree with everything that you said perfectly. Absolutely. So, yeah, environment, things that we learn from other people, which is again, I'm just going to use this opportunity to say two things. That's why all those examples that you gave, that's why the idea of love at first sight, we just need to put that thing in a can because it's very dangerous, right? It's very dangerous because you cannot love something that you don't even know. You are just loving the outer case. So we really need to discourage that kind of romantic idea. And when I say romantic, I don't mean the romantic the way we take it. Those of us who did literature, romantic means something that you have idealized. It's something that you have made up in your mind. It's not real. You just made it up, right? So, yeah. So love at first sight is good because it's good only on the surface, but to take action upon it is very dangerous. Some people do and it works for them. The only reason it works is because life just arranged that person that was able to meet what they also needed. And both of them were lucky that he worked for them. But just because he has worked for people, we shouldn't go around saying love at first sight. Yes, it goes beyond that. The people and who they are is what is going to affect our compatibility, right? And then the environment here is very important. The environment, that's again why when people do things to us, we need to remember that they're coming from somewhere. Something influenced them. So instead of hating them and feeling that they just deliberately want to be mean to me, I understand that it's a matter of mindset. They have been exposed to something that this is the way they see life, so it doesn't mean that the person is a bad person. If they learned that something bad is the right way to do things, then they feel they're doing the right thing, which is another reason why we cannot keep quiet because the person may not know that this is wrong, because this is all that they've known, right? So that's why you have to be your own advocate because the person that you're tolerating that thing from thinking they're going to change, they may not know that they're doing something wrong. Let's give them that grace in the way that we approach them. So if I have a partner who is behaving like that, instead of fighting him, I will tell him, you see, I understand that maybe this is the way that you understand life because maybe this is the way you see it. How about this? This is the way that I see life. Now, where are we going to find a compromise? Because what you are doing is causing me to feel so, 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 so. And maybe you don't understand, you don't realize it, but this is it. So I'm not going to be able to do this relationship if I'm feeling this way because I won't be my best for you. I won't be my best for us. This way, I'm not even talking about it's me I want to protect. I want to protect being the best for you. I want to protect being the best for our relationship. Does he not want that?
Mm,
So yeah. So yeah, I think we will close. You said final thoughts. So we have to understand that the what is it? Identity crisis is not to be seen as something ugly in the sense of let me not be ashamed of it, but let me work on it. So I can go to therapy, the things that we can do. I can take therapy, I can take counseling to help me to discover who I am and why I'm being this way, and to teach me skills that will help me to discover myself so that I can be more of a whole person. Because when I'm whole, then I can have better experiences with other people. Because I mean, that's what life is all about. The experiences that we have with other people is what will now make us feel like, oh, I am so unhappy, right?
Mm.
But if you get to a place where you know yourself, then you can overcome those experiences. You will know you can balance yourself. So you'll be a stronger and more authentic.
Yeah, and just to wrap it up, I will still emphasize the issue on dating yourself,
Mm,
you first, before knowing any other person.
mm,
Be so much obsessed with knowing yourself that if
mm,
a person comes in, you can give them a template about you.
mm,
You're like, this is what Lulu loves, this is what Uzo loves. Like you're
mm,
giving outsider point of view that you
yeah,
can't treat me like this because this is how far she
exactly.
can express to you. So be
Mm,
so obsessed in dating yourself,
mm,
being so in love with yourself that if that doesn't happen, you're like, I'm giving myself that love. It's not
yeah.
that you get it from outside. You're
Yes.
confident in yourself that you're
Yeah.
like, if choose me, I will approve myself. You're too
Yes.
cautious about yourself to a point that you realize when someone is being toxic, you realize when someone is being manipulative, you realize when you're settling for less.
Yeah.
So much obsessed to a point that you're, I can give you a manual about me.
In fact, can we put it this way? Maybe we should just take everything back to the fact that we have a creator. We have a creator that created us. And our creator created us with a purpose, right?
Mm,
And it is said in those wise words that he knew his expectations, or he knows his expectations for us, and they are good, right?
mm.
So therefore, if my creator knows his expectations for me and they are good, right? Why should I be the one to accept what is bad for me? Already by myself, I am telling my creator, you just hold on to your good plans for me. Let me enjoy these bad things first. If we can look at it that way, then
Wow.
we, yes. And remember, it's that creator that created each and every one of us. So it's up to me if I decide that I want to relinquish what I was given from the time I was created and
Mm,
surrender it to another human being, right?
wow.
Then, secondly, the second part of that is I need to take my validation from my creator, because my creator is the one who can decide to squash me down and just end my life, right?
True.
He gave me life. He can decide that, okay, you're done, right? So I cannot be taking it from other people. You need to go back. We need to go back and take it from the source, right? The reason we have to say this is because some of us can now become selfish in our behavior because we're saying we're going to take care of ourselves, we're going to take care of ourselves. But if we look at it from the eyes of my creator is there watching me, this this thing that this person that I created, look at what this person is making of themselves. They're making themselves something that can just be nonsensically tossed around. Do you understand? In fact, when we are thinking of ourselves, we may have more difficulty. But if you have a child or someone that you love and you can see them going through something and you don't want that for them, right? Look upon yourself as something that the creator put in your hands for you to take care of. Because
Ah,
when you're taking care of yourself, you can be careless. But when you're taking care of something that was given to you to take care of, you know you're going to protect that thing. So walk
wow.
out, get out of yourself now and look upon yourself as something that you were given to take care of. then you will do a very good job of it. You will, because the times that any ideas that come to your mind when you're thinking, no, I'm being too strong for myself, you will be able to forget that and say, no, let me take care of this item that I was given to take care of. Then
Wow.
you
I
think you can do
think
it.
I think that's you've given me like a whole perspective. This is not my life. This is a life that I was given to take.
Hmm.
Ah, man, that thing has stayed in my spirit. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah,
I'm given this life, and I'm assuming it's a child that I am bringing up. How will I take care of it? I think now that's the new lens.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah, yeah,
this amazing. I think now we need to start looking at life that way.
yeah.
This human being that I am bringing up, I have been bestowed that power to bring up this human being in a good way. I have been given the manual, so it's just to read the manual. Remember what we said about the manual? It's to now read the manual and now start using it according to how the manual was given. Wow.
Mhm. Yeah,
As in, you have
yeah.
dropped a last gem. I'm like, yeah,
Oh, you have, because if you hadn't said those things that you said, I don't know how we would have ended up here. So, so yeah, I'm very grateful, for this conversation. And that's the thing, we learn from each other, right? We learn from each other because I might have something inside of me, but when I meet somebody who spiritually and energetically we are holding hands and we're working together, then we'll arrive at a good place. And that's another reason why we cannot force relationships. Because we can't. Because we won't. That's why we struggle actually, because we are forcing something with someone with whom you cannot get to the destination. But
man,
see how together we just work seamlessly, we learn from each other, and we are making sense of things, and we're getting value from each other. You
you
know,
drop it. I'm like, hold
your voice
on.
cut out. What did you say?
I'm saying you're dropping last minute gem that I'm like, hold on, let's not leave. You need to deliver this thing.